Hello, I'm back. Yes, live stream. We're going to deal with monster stat blocks. I've been promising to do this for a while, and I started that process, and then I got waylaid by sickness, and I'm not perfect, but we're going to keep plugging away, and hopefully my brain can deal with the mathematics behind all of this and the calculations. I certainly hope so, because otherwise it's going to be a very short stream. I had been asked to do something with the genie. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to deal with the genie today. So my suggestion is take part in the poll. Feel free to provide your suggestions and opinion. I'm all for that. But I do have a very strict design goal, and I'm going to be following that goal very specifically. I'll make it clear what that is, and it's really up to you whether you want to take on board what I have to offer or not. That's fine. So grab some food, some drink, make sure you're comfortable, and we'll get started in just a second. And hopefully it's of some use to you. Okay, here we go. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about how to remaster, fix, redesign the Jinn, which is a type of genie. And this is the stat block, the monster stat block for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. We're not dealing with Aladdin or Will Smith or anything like that. It is just the closest image I could find that is in 4K. Okay, so I have prepared in advance so that I have some idea of what I'm doing and have a reasonable idea of where I need to go with all of this. And there were a couple of things that I needed to establish when I was doing this with the person I was doing it for. One of my patrons specifically asked for the genie, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Let's do the genie. So there were a couple of design things that he had requested, and Big Kid had said, look, I want to use this in my campaign. I want it to be a major centerpiece, and Jinn was as close to a sort of like a full-blown genie as possible. I looked back at older versions of Dungeons and Dragons and discovered that the Jinn don't normally cast the wish spell, not unless they're a noble Jinn, which is why the standard Dungeons & Dragons monster manual for 5e doesn't include the spell wish, or the ability to cast a wish, or create a wish in some way. It doesn't do that, because it's not a noble Jinn, and there's only about 1% of all Jinn who are noble Jinn. But the other problem with the noble Jinn who do actually cast the wish spell is that they're not a combat monster. You can't fight them because they cast wish. So all that would happen if the players tried to fight a Jinn that could cast wish or use the wish is that they would just wish the players dead, or wish the players away from them, or the Jinn would just vanish, just teleport itself away to wherever it needed to go. So there's no way of actually fighting a noble Jinn. So that's why there's no stat block. It's like, I'm going to face a god. It's quite foolish to put a god down as a fightable monster or creature. And of course we do that for high level play. But with regard to the Jinn, it is an all-powerful being, the noble Jinn. So it's kind of a little bit silly. This is why when I was looking at the older version of the Jinn, I realized, that's why there is no stat block, only for the standard Jinn. So I'm not going to include wish. Also too, I had a discussion about whether the Jinn is actually a solo creature, solo monster, solo combatant. And we established that, frankly, there wouldn't really be anybody else hanging around for this. Like, there literally wouldn't be anybody else there. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So that means I have to build it so it can do everything on its own. It has to be able to hold its own in a fight. So I'm going to build it as a legendary monster. So there's a couple of things I needed to do with regard to that. So this is where my head is at with regard to the design, and also to sort of correct some of the maths in the Jinn, where I feel like it has fallen down and hasn't done what it needed to do. and I think there's quite a few times that this has occurred. So let's have a look at the djinn and the stat block for it. So this is sort of, I believe it is the djinn. It just says aboleth because that's the last one I was working on. So just ignore that word aboleth. It is actually supposed to be the djinn. I'm pretty sure I transferred all the data across. Did I? Yes? Okay, right. So djinn. Djinn. And then I need to just make sure that I include, what is it? Is it large size? It's large elemental chaotic good. Large elemental chaotic good. It's an elemental creature, chaotic good. Yes, that's right. Today's date is the 30th of July. Dated. For those of you who are wondering what's the deal with the 30th of July, well, New Zealand, I'm in the future. I'm in the future. So wherever you are, it is going to be a little bit different in terms of time zone. Okay, so that's that. And next, and now I'll jump back and forth from my cam from this page to my face as we go. The next thing is I need to start dealing with some of the maths. I'm pretty sure I transferred all of the ability scores and modifiers over, and I've done that. And I may have done the calculation for the hit points as well in advance. Now, if we look in the Dungeon Master Guide, which is not a good way to build a monster, like literally the 5e Dungeon Master Guide is really not a great idea, but I still feel like to a certain degree there are still some errors, that the table on 274 has that monster statistics by challenge rating quick table, and I use that as a guide. Now this is of course going to mean nothing if it comes out in 2025 and all the monsters have completely changed because they're going to be printing a new monster manual. So this is tentative in many respects. I've done part of the work, but I may need to readjust if they have redone the maths on all the monsters. I'm not going to change the challenge rating. I'm just going to correct the maths for it. Okay, all right, so challenge rating for this monster is supposed to be an 11. So challenge rating 11, proficiency should be 4, and I believe that is correct. If I remember right, when you get to proficiency 4, a character at level 11 it would have a proficiency of 4. Now, I'm pretty sure that is correct. I'll just do a quick check and make sure that is right. But it is. I should really update this table and make my own one. Again, I'm just not too sure if there's much point if they're going to adjust everything. So challenge rating, experience points, I've got that. Highlighted areas are probably things I'm going to change right now. Armor class. We're talking about a djinn, our genie, and it should really have an armor class of at least 17. I'm fine with it having just a 17 rather than going up and giving it higher armor class. Now, you could go lower and you could go higher, but if you're going to move your armor class, I would only ever move it by about 1 point. Armor class. Okay, something's not clicking in my head right now, but I don't know what it is. So we could go down to a 16 or we could go up to an 18, but 17 is probably close enough, and that was I believe that is the original armor class. So I don't have really an issue with that, so we can unhighlight that. We could say that it's protected by magic, so 10 plus its dexterity, which is 2, which means its natural armor is looking at like a plus 5. So there's quite a bit of natural armor or magical armor going on here. I might just add in the word magical, natural armor. Okay, cool. Next, let's get my calculator up and running so I can start doing some calculations. So if I want to calculate, now the average hit points I believe for the djinn is 161. Yes, correct. The formula is there and that is correct. So we need to know what the maximum hit points of a djinn can be. I almost always use maximum hit points because my players, they're all power gamers. They played the game, you know, for at least 10 years. Some earlier than that, you know, when it was D&D Next. But so I have to be pretty ruthless with them to be able to make it an interesting fight. So 224 is so the range is 224 to 161, and the top end would be 224. So is that how many hit points a challenge rating 11 monster or creature should have? Well, it says here the range should be between 221 to 235. So if this is actually reasonably correct, we're looking all right. Our walking speed and our fly speed, they are all done and correct. I'll check my ability scores. 2115, 2115, and then it's 22, 2215, 1620, 1620. Okay, so that's all done. That's fine. Next, saving throws. Okay, so the saving throws that it gets are for dexterity, wisdom, and charisma. Is that all the saving throws that it should have? So I think right now, obviously, dex is 2, proficiency 4 is 6, that's correct. Wisdom is a 3, plus 4 is 7, that's correct. Charisma is a 5, plus 4 is a 9, that's correct. Dexterity, do I think strength? No. Dexterity, yeah, sure, why not? Con, I don't know. Maybe con. Maybe con should be added. Wisdom, yeah, it's been around a long time, and charisma because it's a very charismatic being. So we could add con as well. Three saving throws is a lot, to be fair. So it may not be necessary to do that, but we'll see. Hello, Negative Space. How are you? You could have one poll that says, do you think all the stat blocks need fixing? Laugh out loud. Yes, I could. But I'd like my stat blocks to, my polls to seem like they're saying something different each time if I can. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Okay, so, nice to know there's somebody in the chat. I will just mark my space. So, no, listen, let me ask you this question, because I can come back to it. Do you think the djinn should have a better constitution saving throw? Yeah. Let's put that in. He has bottle armor. Yeah, exactly. It's probably plot armor, frankly. Anyway, okay, let's get back to the worksheet. And I'll come back to the chat in a second. I just want to focus on one thing at a time, and I don't want my eyes to have to keep adjusting. I'm still putting the stuff in my eyes to keep my eyes from going bananas on me. Okay. So I'm drinking lemon and hot water. It's a little bitter, but apparently very good for me. So, okay, next. Arcana. So yes, I would agree, Arcana. Is there anything else? No, I think Arcana and History are probably perfect. They make sense. So 2 plus the int, they get a 6 and 6. Yeah, I don't think there's... Do I need to add anything else? Do I feel like that they would have more knowledges? This is actually something, I've highlighted it for a reason, and I'm trying to think why I highlighted it. I think the reason I highlighted it is because I wanted to add in, because it's a genie and it's been around a long time, it would probably know a lot of other things, not just history and arcana. I think I wanted to add nature as well, actually. I wanted to add nature and religion. Are those the only other knowledge skills in 5e, aren't they? I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I think what it was is I wanted to just have a +6 to all knowledge skills. I think that's really what I wanted to do. It's just all knowledge skills. I think that's the line I wanted to include. So it would be able to do all of those with a +6. It's probably never going to come up in a battle. You know, you're almost never going to use it. But if the players decide to talk to the djinn, since you could, you know, they would communicate with you, that might work. Okay, all right, thinking about this a little bit more. I'll put into brackets all intelligence. All intelligence ability checks. I think that's what I want to aim for. All ability intelligence checks. +6. Okay, I'm putting it in brackets. I'll leave it in yellow. Come back to it. Next, damage. Damage types. We've got damage immunities, lightning and thunder. I believe that is from the original, isn't it? I believe it is. Oh, I added in skills that didn't have any skills before. All right. That's why I've added Arcana and History. But I think maybe I want to extend it to all intelligence ability checks. It could be either one of these. Go with just Arcana and History, or all intelligence ability checks +6. You guys will let me know what you think about that. I'm not sort of sold on it. I'm not trusting my brain because brain power is not great right now. But lightning and thunder, is there anything else that they should really have as well? I need like a sort of a table that gives me a breakdown of all of the different types of damage types. Would cold be another one to include? Thunder. It's an elemental thing. But I feel like the Jinn is less fire-based. That's the Ifriti. So I don't think fire, but maybe cold. Or... yeah, okay. Let me just add in I'll add in cold. And I'm going to put that in and highlight it in yellow as a, not too sure. Not too sure. Okay, bold. Okay, no, not bold. Highlight yellow. Con, darn it. Con. Would be a 6, would be a 10 save for that. Would be very high. So let's take this, go over here, unbold that, put it in yellow, and you guys will let me know. These are changes I'm certainly considering. Okay, condition immunities, being charmed, frightened, and prone. Is that all the condition immunities it really should have, though? It is not a noble Jinn. I think the dark vision I don't have really a problem with. I think that's originally what it had, was just dark vision. Didn't have true sight. It's not like a dragon level sight. I'm kind of curious if it does have that in the older book. Did I have Jinn marked? No, of course I didn't have Jinn marked. That would be like a very sensible thing to do. This is what an organized individual would do, who knew what they were doing. And apparently I'm not it. Here we go. Genies. Jinn. No. That's genie, and then it stops. Where's a genie? Genie, Jinn. Here we go. All right. Noble Jinn, Jinn in general. I don't know that they necessarily indicate what sort of vision they have, how they see. Singular. I think it would fall under genie in general, wouldn't it? In terms of how they would see the world. No, that's not going to help me. Cavalier society sometimes counter primes, blah 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 blah. Tongues. Oh, keep going. Genies speak their own tongue and that of any intelligent beings that meet through a limited form of telepathy is already there. So 120 feet. Do we have 120 feet on its? No, they just had a language. Oh, that's why I gave it telepathy. That's a no-brainer. I'm taking the yellow off. It's staying. I think that's definitely a given. So that's that bit. Now, condition immunities. God, I got distracted so badly. We're going to get on to its fighting special abilities and stuff in a second, people. We're not that far away from that. And fortunately, I decided to type it all out in advance, or at least copy and paste it across in many respects, so that I didn't have to worry about that too much. Slow things down. Okay. Oh, more lemon. Oops. I think I slurped up a seed. Okay. Well, I don't think they should have conditioned immunity to unconscious. What about being stunned? Charmed, frightened, and prone. Well, prone doesn't make sense because they don't really have legs as such, do they? Not really. They're sort of like misty, floaty thingies at the bottom. Stunned. Do I really want somebody to be able to stun a djinn? I don't know. Thinking about it. Restrained, so you could restrain it. A djinn. It's not a noble djinn, so it's not all powerful. Prone, that's fine. So, restrained and stunned, those are two that I would consider. Petrified. Could you petrify a djinn? Oh, it's an interesting idea. I had to kind of think about that. Paralyzed, invisible. Well, you don't need to be. That doesn't make any sense. Paralysis. Paralyzing a djinn. It's like the stunned and the petrified, isn't it? Incapacitate. Well, that's not going to be a good idea to do that. That would be silly. Grapple. Grappling a djinn. Frightened, deafened, charmed, blind. So, yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I'm going to leave that open, and I'll ask some people. So let's. I'm going to start moving on to its special abilities. You might have noticed I've already started to include legendary resistance and magic resistance, because I think a djinn should have these. If I'm going to make it a legendary monster, and it really doesn't. Djinns don't normally have minions around it. It's not a common thing, and even if you did, they wouldn't be that powerful. You got to remember, even in 5e, minions don't last 5 seconds. I can guarantee. Fireball, Pam. Okay, lightning bolt, bam. Like you just decimate an area. There's so many area effect spells that will just wipe out minions. And yeah, I know the going view is solve the problem of a solo monster by using minions, and I'm afraid I've done it a lot, and it don't work. it chews up one person's turn, usually a spellcaster. One round, spellcaster's not doing something at the djinn. That's it. So I don't see the point. Okay, so let's have a look at chat and see what people had to say. Ugly Weirdo's here. Hello, Ugly Weirdo. Nice to have you. Okay, people, you're going to have to help me along with this if I've made any... Radiant. Radiant? Oh. As in radiant damage. Maybe cold resistance. Now, the only reason I don't like including resistance in monsters is because it creates a lot of mathematics for the Dungeon Master to track. Because then when a player does cold damage, then they get told, okay, I did 22 points of cold damage, but I'm resistant to this, so now I halve this. And if it's a halve the thing, I've got to halve it if it saves. I mean, it's not full damage is 22, but if it saves, then it does 11, does half. And then if it's resistant, then I have to halve it again. There's too many steps going along. So unless it makes a lot of sense to definitely use a mechanic like resistance, and I know resistance exists in 5e, it's a thing. I honestly don't think it's a great idea. But yes, I suppose it could. Wind can be cold. I think cold as an immunity is actually probably sensible. Radiant, you're saying radiant as well. Is this because the djinn is a good creature? Chaotic good, but still a good creature. Yeah, I can see why you might favour it. I think in terms of how easy is it for me to run that. I like the idea of not creating a lot of extra mathematics for a dungeon master, because the problem is if you go through and you try to turn a djinn into a legendary creature or monster, and I think that makes sense, it really does hamstring the dungeon master, and it takes longer to resolve things. So, you know, does it make more sense that it have resistance or more sense that it have immunity? And am I actually making it impossible for the players to actually hurt the djinn in a fight? No, because there are lots of other things they can do that aren't cold damage. So I think cold damage, I think I should go with that. Hello, Jason Conrad. How are you? So Jason likes the idea of not having extra maths. I think that's a sensible thing to do as well. Was it lime resistance with a simple syrup affinity? Nice. Okay, all right, so let's... Charm is a go-to djinn countermeasure in fiction. Right, so we need to make sure... This is around spells that the djinn can cast. We're going to talk about spell casting. We need to definitely do something about the spell casting for the djinn, because the djinn doesn't have enough spell casting for sure. What the heck? YouTube just popping up and added over the... So yeah, this happens. I'm not going to say anything. I have enough issues with YouTube. Okay, let's go over here. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to put down... Well, I can just list them off. It's one line. It's not going to take up any extra space. It's not going to create a lot of hassle for my patron, and it's not going to create a lot of hassle for Wally when he puts it into a document. Oh, by the way, these things will eventually find their way into a document, but I'm one person working with Wally DM and AJ Pickett, so there's no way we can do this fast. Not to mention, we're not going to put anything out until Wizards of the Coast puts out their new monster manual. Next, nature. I'll put down nature +6. I think that's a good way to go. And then is a religion after? Religion +6. And then a full stop. And I'll just take that out. And that sort of spells it out. You know what you're doing with there. It's probably hardly ever going to get used unless the players are actually asking for advice from the djinn. I think we're going to include the cold one as an immunity. I think that's sensible. Cold, lightning, thunder. And I'm actually tempted to add radiant as well. What are your players likely to use? They're going to use bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage, mostly. Yep, your marshals. Then your spellcasters have still got fire, force, and acid, and a whole poison. They've got a whole bunch of other things. Okay, I'm going to just put this in here in the yellow for now, radiant. Now, if you're wondering, should you be concerned about adding immunities to a monster and not adjusting the challenge rating, can I just make it clear to you that usually most monsters don't have that many damage immunities or damage resistances, but damage immunities are the real one. Damage resistances are not the big issue at all. Damage immunities are like, we worried about this, but you never give a monster that many damage immunities. There's still so many different types of damage type you can do that it really shouldn't adjust the CR rating, okay? Because they're so situational. It would mean that they would have to use a spell that does thunder damage or radiant damage or, you know, divine smite with a paladin. They're not going to get the smite damage in, but the slashing, bludgeoning, or piercing damage will go through. Lightning and cold. There's so many other things they can do. It's about them figuring out what the right damage type is. So it's not really making the monster that much harder. And frankly, most players will just read the monster manual anyway, and they'll know what they are and just metagame. Okay, that's what my players tend to do anyway. They're power gamers. They're into that sort of thing. Okay, so charmed, frightened, prone, already there. Did I need to come back to this? I don't know. I don't know. I need to ask the question, don't I? Let's ask that question. Should the Jinn have more condition immunities? Let's ask that question. Hello, Big Kid. Yes, I'm doing it. I told you I would, and I'm here. I'm working hard, okay? Big Kid is a patron and a moderator, and here's the reason I'm doing this today. Is Jasper here too? Oh, well done. Nice. Hashtag should. All right, Big Kid, you need to let me know. Am I on the right track? I think I'm on the right track. Should the Jinn have more condition immunities? Condition immunities I'm a little reluctant to get too carried away with. Only if they really make sense. And I don't know that I can I could go either way at this present time. Oh, you got to go? Negative space. Hey, thank you for hanging out. I do appreciate it. Thank you for being here and giving your feedback. I do appreciate it. Great. Okay, so should the Jinn have more condition immunities? And what should they be? And what, I've got to spell properly, Fred. What should they be? What should they be? All right, let's have a look and see what the feedback is. I got it. Radiant. I've already marked that down as possibly a thing. Not yet confirmed. We are locking in the cold damage. Charm. We'll come back to Charm. I haven't done spells yet. I do not want to do damage resistance unless it really makes sense, and I don't know that it really makes sense. I'd rather add some healing to the creature. I'd like to have someone feel like their attacks where spells or melee are working, it's just that tough. I've increased its hit points to maximum, so it's going to last a lot longer. Do you know what I mean? Don't know, that's all right. I'm actually, Jasper, you know lots about AD&D and basic D&D, and I'm using a lot of concepts from AD and basic D&D to readjust the Jinn. So your feedback's actually a really good idea. You know, so don't think that you can't contribute at all, because I literally have the AD&D monster manual in front of me. Immune to forced movement. I don't know how I would do that. I don't know how I would do that. I'd have to let me think about that, ugly weirdo. I'm just trying to think if that does that make sense for a Jinn. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about the trailing end of it, since it doesn't really have legs as such. Okay, all right. So let me keep going. Let's go back to the workspace and do the next thing, which was this here: legendary resistance and magic resistance. I think it's a no-brainer. It should have had these in the first place. The only reason it didn't have it is because it was not listed as a legendary monster. I don't know why they didn't at least include magic resistance, because I think magic resistance is such an easy thing for a game master to implement. There's not a lot of extra mathematics. The Jinn has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. And I think that works perfectly with the Jinn. So I want to have magic resistance there. So I don't consider that I will discuss that in chat thing. It's happening. Okay. The next thing is I'm assuming this is going to be a solo monster or creature. So I think it should have legendary resistance, which I've restructured. Normally you get 3 of these things, and the players just work their way through the 3 legendary resistances with the less powerful spells. Usually they know that the Dungeon Master won't bother using legendary resistance against low-level spells. They're waiting for them to blow bigger spells or medium range spells. So what they do is they blow their medium range spells or medium power spells, and then once they've used up the legendary resistance, then they smash it and obliterate the thing with their more powerful spells, the most powerful spells they have, and then she's done. So to counter this, I'm putting in one Once per round, it can use legendary resistance. If we assume that spellcasters that can actually hurt it really badly with spells are going to generally sit in the range of a cleric and a wizard, or two spellcasters, that means that one of those spellcasters will get a spell through and the other one won't. We should be able to circumvent some of that stuff. So it doesn't mean that it's going to literally be wiped out in one round, because the players are going to be at level 11 when they face a creature like this, right? Jinn, you would probably be about level 11 as a character. And level 11... 224 hit points. We'll probably, if we're lucky, will last a round and a half or 2 rounds. It's probably about as long as you will live before it's over and it's a done deal. So I'm going to keep that as an option for Game Masters. It's one of the reasons why I want to push up Con, because I feel like Con is something that would make sense for as a saving throw. Con is a very high saving throw too. That will just eliminate some of these high level spells, just shutting down the Jinn. Okay, alright. So I included that. Now, elemental demise. If the Jinn dies, its body disintegrates into a warm breeze, leaving behind only equipment the Jinn was wearing or carrying. And I have no problem with the elemental demise. I thought that was a nice... I mean, it's not a huge thing. I don't think it need to be freak out about it. Okay, spellcasting is next. Innate spellcasting. So we've got spellcasting on our agenda here, and the Jinn's innate spellcasting ability is charisma. Good. It's the biggest modifier they have generally, other than Con, so that's good news. So we assume our players will have at least a +5 when they get to a level 11. If they haven't got a +5, then they've been taking too many feats and screwing around too much, and that's their problem. And then their proficiency bonus of 5. So a 9 to hit with a spell is probably about right. It's comparable with a spellcaster. Occasionally, spellcasters at level 10 or 11, or maybe a little bit earlier or a little bit later, will pick up a magic item that gives them a +1 when spellcasting. But it doesn't happen that often. It's much more likely that martial classes would have something like that. It's like a magic sword, probably like a +1 magic sword or whatever. So I think a 9 is fine. We just need to make sure our table is correct, and I think our table is. 11 says... So the table is wrong. It says challenge rating 11, and they've got here an attack bonus of 8. No. So the original stat block is on the money. It's right. It should be a +9, at least a +9. I would not go lower than that. You can go higher by 1. You could make it a +10, but a 9 is probably pretty good. I think that's all right. So we'll just leave that. I don't think we need to go much higher than that. Now, our DC. Our DC, it says a challenge rating 11 should have a DC of 17, is it? 17, yes, 17. Does that actually work? If you have 8 plus your proficiency bonus, which is a 4, which would be 12, and then you add 5... That's probably about right. That's what the DC will be for a character with a character level of 11. So challenge rating 11. So that's sitting in about the right place. We can go up by 1 more, but not 2. If we go up too far, we change our maths too much. The only thing when you're rebuilding stat blocks that you can really count on is all the special abilities and all the other things that you're really doing generally don't matter too much. It's really just armor class, hit points to hit, DCs for saves, and how much damage it does. Frankly, the other stuff, you don't have to worry too much about it. It just doesn't play in that much, because you remember all the players have got all these special fandangle, little special abilities too. So if the monster has them, it all sort of works out. And also too, trying to make monsters in line with player characters is kind of like a nonsense. But anyway, so that's good. It can innately cast the following spells requiring no material components. Good. I like that. So we got that. So these are the things they've given it. I'm not sure that I'm a huge fan of this spell list. The spell list looks really kind of tame. I'm going to come back to the spell list in a second. I just want to get this other stuff dealt with. Okay. So first off, multi-attack makes 3 scimitar attacks, which is kind of boring, but I suppose a +9 is... A +9 is fine if you're dealing with... I mean, this is probably the last thing you want to be doing with your djinn, is using a scimitar to attack something. It's kind of like, what the heck are you up to? So we could make that a 10, but I really don't think that's going to be your choice to do this. This is the worst thing you could do, right? So, yeah, it's probably fine. That'll be all right. We'll leave it there. Next, damage output with the 3 attacks. That's where our problem will lie. So, I've got to figure out the maths behind this. At challenge rating 11, we should be doing 69 to 74 points of damage per round. So when it unleashes its multi-attack, we should be hitting those kind of numbers. Are we hitting those sort of numbers right now? I don't think we are, because 3 attacks, 15 for the first attack. Next one, if it hits, it's going to do 30, 45. 45, so it's only doing about half the damage it needs to. 45 is pretty basic, isn't it? Okay, so that's not good enough. I think we need to pump it up a little bit, eh? So, easiest way to do that. We could use, well, scimitar. No, let's just push in a few more numbers here. So let's put in 4 here. If I double it, might skew it enough to make it work. So 4 6s plus 5. So if I get my calculator and I stick it here for a second, and then we go to 3.5 multiplied by 4 equals that. So that's that calculation. Add the 5 plus 5. That's fine. So 19 plus another 3 for the lightning damage. Plus 3. Okay, so 22 points of damage on 1 hit is what we're really looking at. And if I multiply that by 3, 66. Is that close enough? No, it's not. Well, let's push up our lightning damage and double that as well. 2. So, no, here we go. So 3.5 multiplied by 2 equals 7. So we're doing 7 points of damage with our lightning or thunder on average. So that's that number. And then over here, oh, I didn't do the calculation and put the change in, did I? So we need to go, what is it? Sorry, people, brain is leaving me. 3.5, which is 6-sided dice. Multiply that by 4. Okay. I get 14, then I add the 5. I get 19. So that should be, average damage is 19 here. That's better. Okay, so now if I do the calculation, 19 plus 7, 26. Now I multiply that by 3, 78. It's about 4 points higher than where we needed to be. Four points higher than where we needed to be. But you have to roll 3 attacks and it's a +9. I would prefer to go higher rather than lower. It was way too low before. So I think do I need to adjust the lightning dice? The lightning dice would trim it. I could do a D4 and that would switch it around a little bit. Not a lot, but just enough to make it work. Okay, so D4. D4, D6, No, we'll leave it as is. I think it'll be fine. My view is you build it for people who are experienced rather than for beginners. Beginners are always going to find monsters tough. That makes a lot of sense. So I like that it does thunder or lightning damage you get to pick. That's good. Okay. All right. So that's that bit done. So we've got that multi-attack sorted out. Create Whirlwind. Now create Whirlwind. The problem with create Whirlwind is why would you use multi-attack if you could use create Whirlwind? Unless, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it now. Create Whirlwind, I've looked at the Create Whirlwind feature and I feel like it's so bogged down in complexity that I don't like it very much. I still like that. I think we need to have a Create Whirlwind effect. I have no problems with that. It's just the way that it's structured I have a problem. This is why I highlighted it. Okay, let's go back to chat and see what you guys have been answering that last question that I asked you. Here we go. Can't be charmed. They don't have souls. Yeah, I believe charmed is not something they can be. Yeah, it's got that condition already. The Jinn and 2E have virtually no damage immunities, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they probably don't. They probably don't. I think most monsters didn't have damage immunities anyway. Did 2E have that many damage immunities at all, Jasper? Yeah, I think there needs to be a limited charge on the Whirlwind. I did notice that they had a limited use of the Whirlwind. I don't want to have Whirlwind be something they just do all the time. So I do feel like a recharge on the Whirlwind is a good idea. So yes, Jasper, yeah, I think we'll do that. That's probably where I'm going to go with. But I need to be able to make it simpler, because right now when I look at it and I read it, it's a pain in the butt. It looks like its spell DC should be 18 like Whirlwind. 18? Why a DC of 18 for Whirlwind? I think 17's fine. That's in line with a player character. Most player characters will have a DC of about 17 at that level. You don't get your next ability score bump until level 12, isn't it? Pretty sure. You get one at level 4, one at level 8, and then level 12. Am I wrong? No. So they would have 18 is probably not necessary. I don't think. I mean, you can go as high as that, but is it necessary? I was like, I guess if you have a paladin, it's going to be a problem. Okay, here we go. Jinn and 2E received bonuses to saves versus gas and air attacks. Airfit are immune to fire-based... Yeah, Afriti, but we're not dealing with a Afriti. Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. Oh, does this system tie Jinn to illusion? I'm not too sure. Immune to earth-based and mirrors are immune to water and... Okay, alright. Good to know. Thank you. Give it something like Whirlwind Attack. Hello, Dungeons and Chronics. I think what we'll do is we reword the Whirlwind thing. We put it on a recharge, on a 5 or a 6 to recharge. For traveling or attack. I've kind of got something else going on with it as well. Okay. Okay, cool. Right, let's now, what was the question I was going to ask you? While I'm working through Whirlwind, I'm going to try to tidy it up. What spells should the djinn be able to cast? Let's ask that question, because I know a few of you have been itching to sort of say something about that. Okay, so what? Big Kid, are you really sold on having the DC for spell casting be an 18 rather than a 17? I don't know. What spells should a djinn be able to cast? Able to cast. Okay. New question. Back to the worksheet, and I will have to try to... How am I doing for time? I'm doing all right. Okay. Whirlwind. So I want to do a recharge. A 5-foot radius, 30-foot tall cylinder of swirling air magically forms on a point the djinn can see within 120 feet. That's fine, but a radius of a 5-foot radius means you're getting 10 feet. It's pretty bloody small. The whirlwind lasts as long as the djinn maintains concentration, as if concentrating on a spell. Any creature but the djinn that enters the whirlwind must succeed on a DC 18 strength. Oh, you got 18. Now, why is it 18? We got what's going on here? Oh, they got an 18 and we got a 17. I see what you're saying. They've got 17 for spell casting, but they got an 18 for the strength. Big Kid, I see your point. So it really comes down to, do we make the 18 a 17, or do we make the 17 an 18? Well, as it's not a big deal to go up by 1 point, we can probably do that. It's probably not a big deal. So we'll go 18 there. That makes, yeah, okay. All right, I see what it's funny how they did that. They got a DC for here that's an 18, and then they got another DC that's a 17 on the same stat block. I don't know if I've seen that too often. I didn't even notice it until you made it, you were indicating it in chat. Now I get what you're saying. Okay. So let's go here. Let's get rid of this. That's why I highlighted it. That's probably why I highlighted it. It was like, what's going on here? They've got an 18 and not a 17. Oh, okay. All right, so keep going. The djinn can move the whirlwind up to 60 feet as an action, and creatures restrained by the whirlwind move with it. The whirlwind ends if the djinn loses sight of it. Oh, God. A creature can use its action to free a creature restrained by the whirlwind, including itself, by succeeding on a DC. Okay. This is such a complicated ability. If the check succeeds, the creature is no longer restrained and moves to the nearest space outside the whirlwind. I don't know that I like this feature the way it is. I'm not too sure how to fix it, though. I know it needs to be a recharge. I'm going to make it 10 feet radius. 10-foot radius. 30 feet tall cylinder. Okay. And then I'm going to highlight all of this, because this is some crazy shit here. Like, how are you supposed to, as a game master, get your head around that? And then having to track how this is going to work would be just awful. How many times have I run the djinn? I think maybe twice. I don't know if I even used the whirlwind ability. No, I have used it, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. If I remember right, it's a long time ago too. This is probably why I'm having this feeling about I just want to get rid of it and change it. Just what do I change it to? That's the problem. Okay, here we go. Let's djinn. So we're going to do what I do with almost all legendary monsters or creatures or whatever, and that is we're going to change the way the legendary action works. So the Djinn can take one legendary action at the end of each player's turn. And the reason for this is really simple. If you have a bigger group, you need to have more legendary actions. If you have a smaller group, you need to have less legendary actions available to you. And I think that is ultimately where my head is at with regard to this. So, this is happening. Forget about this 3 legendary action nonsense. At the end of every player's turn, you get to do something. This makes the Djinn interesting. Next, standard actions. All the standard actions you would normally do, like dashing, dodge, grapple, help, search, shove, use an object, should be available to a Djinn as a legendary action. Makes perfect sense to me. The only thing with regard to this that I'm looking at and thinking, oh, what do I do, is I mean, obviously use an object, search, and the help action are frankly useless to you. I mean, they don't even. They're really not that useful. I mean, help in combat generally very situational, though it's actually worth doing so rather than just making another attack yourself. It doesn't really come up as being a good idea. The search action has always been a bloody nonsense in combat, and using an object is really just to stop people from doing all sorts of things, you know, pulling every single lever every time that's their turn. Okay, so we'll just leave that as is. Basic attacks, we're going to keep that. Basic attacks, the Djinn can make a scimitar attack. One scimitar attack is not a lot. It's only going to be roughly maybe 20 something hit points worth of damage, so it's not a big thing that they're getting to do. But at least they're getting to do something. I know what I'm missing here. I should include spellcasting as a legendary action. I got chain lightning here. I don't believe chain lightning was there before. I think it's something I've added in. If I remember right, I've added in chain lightning as a thing that it can do on its turn once per round as a legendary action. Otherwise, you'd just chain lightning them the whole time. Okay, so chain lightning, now because it's an elemental creature and it's sort of wind and so forth, and lightning, I felt like let's have a lightning thing going on. Okay, so here we go. Chain lightning. Once per round, you create a bolt of lightning that arcs toward a target of your choice that you can see within 150 feet. Cool. 3 bolts then leap from the target to as many as 3 other targets, each of which must be within 30 feet of the first target. This is basically the chain lightning spell. A target can be a creature or an object and can be targeted by only one of the bolts. A target must make a dexterity saving throw. The target takes 10d8 lightning damage on a failed save and half as much damage on a successful one. End of story. And I think, is that reasonable? Is chain lightning outside of the realm of a level 11 character? I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure chain lightning would be available to a spellcaster who could cast chain lightning. So in the player's handbook, what do we got here? I'm pretty sure this is why I included it, is because it was something that really the players could do. If the players can do it, then the monster should be able to do it. And it's elemental. One of the things Big Kid was saying is he wanted the Djinn to feel more elemental in what it could do. And so that's sort of where I thought this might go. So chain lightning, let's check this. It was a little while ago when I put this all together, so I may have forgotten what my head was, or even if my head was working properly at all. But let's have a look. Chain lightning, which page? Can I see anything? Here we go. Call lightning. Chain lightning is a level 6 spell. Evocation. We're not upcasting chain lightning for our Djinn. That's not going to happen. Is a level 6 spell available to a wizard at level 11? I can't remember. I can't remember. Okay, wizard. Where are you, wizard? Can wizards use a level 6 spell? They can use a level 6 spell. They can use one level 6 spell. That's fine. We're keeping it. One of those around from the djinn is good. Okay, so now I need to add in... I want it to be able to cast some spells as well. Just attacking with the lightning bolt once around as a legendary action, and then using scimitar attacks. I mean, obviously use dodge. That would be good, but... or the whirlwind... yeah. I want them to be able to cast some of these spells during their turn. They're going to last maybe 1.5 or 2 rounds, and then they're gone. So let's blow as many of these spells as we possibly can. A little bit like the Lich when I was doing that. So what am I thinking? What am I doing? Here we go. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'm going to put in a new line for legendary actions so we can cast some spells at other times as well. Okay, what spells? I think the djinn should do Wind Wall. Hi Derp. Derp is a patron. Nice to have you. Wind Wall. Okay. Wind Wall. Is Wind Wall a level? What level is Wind Wall? I can't remember. An illusion spell. Which illusion spell are we talking about though? That's the thing. Yep, definitely Wind Wall. Wind. Okay. Eyes aren't working very well. Wind. How's my time? I'm all right on time. Wind. Wind. Sorry, people. Wind. Wind. Oh, here we go. It's only a level 3 spell, though. It's a level 3 spell. Well, let's add Wind Wall to our mix. We want to have Wind Wall as an option. So, Wind Wall is what? I feel like we're going to have to add in a few more spells to make this work. I got to be careful that I don't get too carried away, eh? How do I do this? We want to put in creation, gaseous form once a day, elemental once a day, invisibility, wind wall. The problem is 1 a day each. Oh, so you can do one of these things a day each. That's fine. I don't think we're going to use wind wall more than once. So it's a top end spell. Creating food and water is not. Tongues and wind. Is it wind walk? Is there a wind walk spell as well? Wind walk, there is. Oh, it's a level 6 spell. Wind walk is actually a very high level spell. It's a level 6 spell, and wind wall is a lower level spell. Why would it need tongues if it's got telepathy? I've given it telepathy. Tongues is actually almost completely pointless. Well, I suppose if you don't want to use telepathy, I suppose. Yeah, tongues. Where's tongues? Tongues. This is the problem. I'm transferring ideas from somewhere. So level 3 tongues, 3 each day tongues, wind wall. 3 day each. Tongues is level 3. Wind walk is level 6. And then wind wall is probably lower down, so we could probably put wind wall here. Wind wall. So we'll include wind wall. Okay. All right. Oh, sorry, people. It just took me a little while to just navigate that. All right. So you got that down. Wind wall. All right. Understood. Early djinn are not for combat. They are chaotic good. Yeah, I know. Their spells were basically food and supply support. They can cast a greater illusion once per day. Interesting. So major illusion may be the major illusion. Do we have major illusion? Got silent image, minor illusion, major illusion. Why am I mirror image? No. Major illusion. Here we go. It's a level 3 spell. Major illusion. Greater illusion once per day. Early editions. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's only level 3. Let's give them major illusion as well. Major illusion. Sorry, people. Major illusion. No, major image. Oh, God. Major image. Okay, major image. Okay, got it. Yep. So, thank you, Jasper. Tell them that there's something in their city that feeds on wishes. Yes, yes. Wishmaster is a terrific film. I don't know what Wishmaster is. I haven't seen it. Looks like their currently 5e spells look pretty consistent. Yeah, pretty. It's pretty close. I feel like they should be able to summon 3 methods. I don't know that we even need to worry about. I would use methods with them anyway, but methods, like I said, 1 spell and all the methods are dead. Do you know what I mean? So by all means, use methods with a djinn. As it's little minions, but minions alone won't make the djinn. Do you know what I mean? I don't know that we need to include. The last thing you want to do is burn up an action or something it can do, summoning methods. That would be my concern, is that we would wind up doing something like that. I would just include them when you do your encounter. Just include how many methods you want. Hello, Wizards and Warp Drives. How's it going? A patron. Hello, Nacho. A couple of dimensional spells, anchor or binding or something. Early Whirlwind blows creates around, not trapping them. Okay, early Whirlwind blows creates around, not trapping them. Yeah, I want to. This Jasper. This is exactly what I was thinking. Is I feel like the Whirlwind should blow them and throw them around. I don't want to trap them in the Whirlwind. I want to throw the player's character around somewhere. Early Whirlwind ability, causing damage, not trapping them. Yes, so it needs to be changed so it causes damage. Is there a spell that is like that we could port over that would be simpler, that I could put in there and get rid of all that nonsense that is already existing for it? Does Water Elemental have an easier ability to copy? Water Elemental. The Air Elemental has an ability. No, the Air Elemental ability is a kind of a bit of a bugger, if I remember. When in doubt, the Air Elemental might be the way to go. Does it have teleport? Can you teleport? I don't know. Does the djinn teleport? I can't remember if the djinn teleports. Does anybody remember? Does it need to have teleport? I'm trying to think about that now. Give it blind. You want to give it blind sight rather than. Yeah, I mean it's not. The djinn is, in many respects, is not really a biological entity, is it? So we could give it blind sight. Spell reflection should be on overcoming nightmare. Well, we've got magic resistance. I think that's going to be enough. Wind burps, maybe okay, all right. So let's see here. We'll take the dark. Look, I had thought about using blind sight rather than dark vision. It had occurred to me. I have no problems with making the adjustment right now. So just do that. Blind sight. So yeah, that's done. Zephyr Strike. Zephyr Strike, limited but only opened here. Maybe I can do something with the Air Elemental special ability. Cantrips. Gust of air, gust of wind, burst of air. Forgot the wording. There's something. The 2E Dinjin cannot teleport, but they can go to the elemental plane at will. Ah, okay. That's interesting. Telepathy kind of covers blind sight. Well, yes, no, because one's communication and one is perception. I feel like they are different enough. So let's not do the teleport, but let's allow them a way of going to their plane of existence. And I think they have something that would allow them to do that already. Okay, all right, back to where am I? What did I need help with in terms of ideas? I think I got that. I got that. I got that. Okay, how to fix the Whirlwind. Hashtag. How to fix Whirlwind feature for Jinn. You guys have already suggested a couple of ideas, and I'll certainly pursue them. We'll just leave instead of, yeah, getting slaughtered. Exactly, Jasper. Yeah, I think that's really the way to go with that. So let's what am I doing? Here, bring us back here. Bring us back here. So back to spells. That was easy. I needed to add in that line for spellcasting. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got major image, tongues, wind walk, wind wool, create food and water. They can create, okay, that's three each a day, which is plenty of uses, so you're not going to run out anytime soon. There are not a lot of attacking spells, though. At will, detect evil and good, detect magic and thunderwave. I want to add in shocking grasp. I don't think you'll be using it that much, but I still want to include shocking grasp. Because it's electrical, and I feel like that sort of fits with the sort of storm-like aspect of the Jinn. So I'm going to add in shocking grasp as another tool. And I think there was one other that I wanted to add as well, and no acid splash, no chill touch, no, that's more undead necromantic-y stuff. Dancing, firebolt, no. Friends, no. Light, not really. Mage hand, not really necessary. Mending. Would mending be an interesting thing to include in there? I don't know. Not necessarily. Minor illusion does come to mind as something I would like to be able to put in there. It's not really a combat thing, though. It's more of a subtle manipulation sort of thing. Minor illusion is probably better played out by prestidigitation. Let's put that in there. Prestidigitation. Okay, I'm putting that in. And I want to include, far out. I want to include Ray of Frost, I think, too. Frost. And I think in terms of its at-will or cantrip ability, those are the things I would like our Jinn to have and be able to utilize. Next. We've done some of that stuff. I'm going to go through a lot of this in a second, but okay, let's go back to, we need to deal with this, and I need to deal with that, and I keep getting distracted. So, who had a thing that I can copy from? I think the Lich stat block was the Lich. Is it? Lich stat block remastered. Okay, let's have a look here. Is there something I can copy and paste from here? Down the bottom here. That's lair actions. No. That's lair actions. Oh, here we're casting a spell. Spell casting. These are the things I want to include. So this is, let's go copy this little bit here. And then take it over here. Drop it in there. Okay. The Jinn. What am I doing? I'm a little lost. Give me a second, people. I'll find my way again. The Jinn. It's lowercase, isn't it? The Jinn. Okay, so the Jinn casts a spell of 5th level or lot. No, let's not do that. That will be a pain for a game master to figure out. What you really want to do is you want to have the stat block and just be able to tick off 3 ticks for this spell, 1 tick for that spell when you've used them. And that's really all we want to be able to do. Plane shift, they already have plane shift, so we can get back to the elemental plane. So we don't have to worry about that. Jasper, that's covered. Great. Oh, they already got major illusion there. Oh, so I added it and I didn't need to. Should have been paying attention, eh? Okay, that's all right. Let's take that back. So the Jinn casts a spell. I don't care what spell it is. You want to be blowing all your high level spells first, more than likely. So the Jinn casts a spell. Any spell. As a legendary action. So we're not always relying on the scimitar attack bullshit. That's really where my head is at with that. And we get to use our chain lightning once around. I need to fix this. Okay. All right. So now let's go. If I go and I look at the air elemental. Air elemental. I don't think it's going to fix the problem though for that whirlwind attack. If I remember right, it's still a crazy blooming mess of an issue. But let's pull it up. Air elemental. Legacy. Oh no, there's 2 of them, eh? Okay. Whirlwind. Recharges in a 4, 5, or 6 each creature. God, look at this thing. I mean, it does bludgeoning damage and it knocks them prone and it does stuff, but it's so complicated. It's such a, and I've used it so many times, but I remember now just how much of a prick it is to use in a game. So if we use it, we have to do it in such a way, and we have to do it in such a way that it's still relatively simple. But we can take this concept, I can port that over into here and call it create whirlwind. But I think we ditch all of that shit because frankly, that is a pain in the ass to deal with. Each creature in the elemental space must... Yeah, so that's not what I want to do. But what I want to do is I want the other part of it. You make a saving throw. The target takes damage. So we need to just... I want to cobble it together some way, don't I? Strength saving throw. A target on a fail. On a fail. Here we go. Let's take this bit here and then I'll do some readjustments. On a fail. Away from... It's knocked prone. As for being thrown against an object, I'm not even going to include this. I know it's good to have that information in there, but I just don't want to do that. I just don't want to add in that. I'm tempted just to take this piece and gut the other feature, drop this in, and just go with that. And really, I don't want it to be an ongoing concentration thing. I just want it to be something that you do once, bam, shoosh, move on. Just to alleviate some of the load on the Dungeon Master, that we don't need to create too many complications for them. That's what concerns me, is often it's really easy to make adjustments to something, but you can also make things so complicated that it's so hard to actually manage at the table, and I don't want that. So Tuijin will just leave instead of getting slaughtered. Yeah. Can you post the ability? Yeah, I'm gonna put the abilities up. You can't see it? Okay, hang on. Whirlwind crushes and kills less than 2d8. Yeah, but that's AD&D. Any stronger than taking... yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. About causing chaos on the battlefield. Now, I did say... He did mention that, didn't he? Giving a blind sight. No, he's going to change it so it causes chaos in battle. Yeah, let's cause a bit of chaos. Let's throw things around. Let's throw them prone. Thunderwave. Yeah, I think Thunderwave makes sense. I think having access to Thunderwave is a good idea. I want them to have access to that. Yeah, we don't want them... And a free T is a different sort of entity, right? Favoured Smite cantrips are awesome. Flavoured Smite cantrips are awesome. Yeah, but I don't know that I think it should have a Smite ability. Basic attack should be Scimitar or Blast of Air that does damage. Air effect save suck. DC 6. Okay, yes. Air elemental looks. I prefer. Notice the slam, making it a ranged attack. Jinn implies Whirlwind maybe to escape. Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. All right. Let's try that out. I'll gut the feature, and I'll transfer over some of the stuff. Okay, so if I do this and recharge, we will recharge it on this. So there's a 50-50 chance you get to do it again, which is good, but you won't be able to use it as a legendary action, which is also good. We don't want that to happen. So yeah, let's make it a recharge of this. Paste it. Recharge there. A 10-foot radius, 30-foot tall sphere of swirling air magically forms on a point the Jinn can see within 120 feet. Fine. Forget about that bit. Concentration. No. Let's get rid of that bit, and then forget about the strained nonsense. Saving throw, restrained, lose, move, no. Ends if lose sight of it, no. All of this, no. I just want to hit him and move on. So we take that out. And then if I take this bit here and I just unhighlight it. Any creature but the Jinn in the Whirlwind must succeed on a DC 18 strength saving throw. That's what I want. Okay. And then... Okay, full stop. Full stop. Any creature but the Jinn in the Whirlwind must succeed on a DC 18 strength saving throw. Full stop. So we've got an area effect, and now we just need to do what happens on a failure. Okay, so let's go down. We're going to knock him prone. We're going to do this. I'm going to forget about throwing them up against a wall. and leave that for the game master to decide how to adjudicate that. That just simplifies things a lot. And then we go here. Okay, so I need to unhighlight this bit here as well. Sorry, people. On a failed save, okay. On a failure, jeez, all on a failure, creatures take 15 average 3d8 plus 2 bludgeoning damage and are flung up to 20 feet from the elemental in a random direction and knocked prone. Fine. Okay, so that's that bit there. That's better. Next, people, if you think I need to include the section on being thrown into walls and so forth, please let me know. But right now, I'm tempted just to leave it alone. If the saving throw is successful, the target takes half the bludgeoning damage, and isn't flung away or knocked prone. I don't want to do that bit. I still want to be able to fling them around, but they just take less damage. Let's see what it looks like. I still think maybe that's a better way of dealing with it. So, if the saving throw is successful, the creature takes half the bludgeoning damage and isn't flung away or knocked prone. I don't know about that bit. I'm really not so sure about that at all. But Create Whirlwind feels like it's a better way of dealing with the Jinn than what was there before. Because what was there before was just like, let's trap them, whereas I want to be able to hurt them and then throw them around and then knock them prone. And prone isn't really a big deal, okay, because who cares? They're going to get back up anyway. But I think that's part of where I would go with this. I'm thinking now I'm going to keep that saving throw as well. Radiant. I'm going to keep the radiant damage as well. Radiant, charmed, frightened, prone. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to add anything else there. I think that's all right. I think it's all right. Next. What else is there? I need to fix this. I've got that mostly done. I probably should go through the spells and the spell list to make sure I've added everything that I think they should have. But okay, let's have a look and see where we're at in the chat. And I've got just enough time, hopefully, to finish this off, which is good. Okay. Which is good. Okay, so So Jinn will have to leave it slaughtered. So we've got that. Will Fincher, can you post the abilities? I've got that done. All of this it'll all go up onto Patreon. I mean, Patreon, you can pay it like $1 a month and download absolutely everything I've ever done. I don't say, oh, you have to have this tier. Like you could just sit there and sign up for 1 month of Patreon for $1 and download absolutely everything I've ever done. And there's a lot, you know. Okay. Whirlwind crushes their kills. Yes, this. Got that. Got that. Got that. Got that. Got that. Making a ranged attack. We've got it. We've got it sorted out as a ranged attack. Got 120 feet to play with. Applies Whirlwind might be used to allow the Jinn to escape. Jinn doesn't use the Whirlwind to defeat its enemies. It's not powerful enough. I've made it fairly powerful. I think it's that Whirlwind ability is probably on mark. What other spells? Okay. Hashtag. What other spells should the Jinn have? And this is assuming that we're not just looking at AD&D, we're looking at, if we were to use our brain and think, okay, if we were to do a Jinn, how would we design it? How would I design it? How would you design it? What will we add to make it fit more? Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to put that up as a question for you to think about. I'm going to go have a piss because I need one. I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish this before I have to go to work. Give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes and I'm back. All right, here we go. Back into the seat. Oh, lemon. Ugh. It's cold too now, so it's even more ruthless. Okay. Knuckle down. 14 minutes to get this done. Okay. Let's see if we can make this work in the time frame we have. So, John, how are you doing, John? I think for spells, anything that can be described by using air would be something. Telekinesis, levitate, that's a good point. Yes, telekinesis. I think the important features are the humanoid ones. So I should physically fight and can cast magics at persons. Okay, all right. Mirror image, kind of like desert mirage. Desert mirage. Is there a desert mirage? I think there's hallucinatory terrain. Hallucinatory terrain is a thing in 5e. There's a spell called that, I'm pretty sure. So maybe we should definitely add that. Okay. Let's see if I can just. I'm just going to put a marker in so I know where I've read up to, and this is where we're going to go here. So, oh, come on, Fred, just press the button. I had a lock up there. Here we go. So this is that. Our damage output, I need to establish if that is correct. 15. We're probably, with 10-foot radius, that's 20-foot diameter. We can probably get the entire party in there unless they spread out. So that's 4 or 5 characters. So 15 times 4 equals, that's pretty low. And then 15 times 5 is, yeah, it's about right. It's actually kind of right in the right margin. I think the size of it, to include it a little bit bigger, will mean that we can hit the whole party. I think that's probably smack on. Okay. Half damage and isn't flung away or knocked prone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's stay with that. That's fine. I'm alright with that. Let's do that. So that's in. So there is our create whirlwind feature. Much easier to deal with. Does a bit of damage. Does some stuff. And I mean, before, I just wouldn't even bother using it. It's like, why would I even consider it as a possibility? It just seems like a wasted feature. So that's all right. Good. We've got that there. We can cast spells. We've got this. That's fine. I've done that bit. Now, spell casting. So I just need to be able to go through here and add in the necessary things that would make it feel more like you're dealing with a genie. Okay, so I did the cantrips, and I've added a couple of extra cantrips, and I'm happy with them. Is Thunderwave? Thunderwave isn't actually a cantrip, is it? It's a level 1 spell, is it not? I'm pretty sure it is. Thunderwave? Thunderwave is a... Thunderwave is a level 1 spell, and I've made it an at-will spell. Basically, you can use it as many times as you like. Yeah, why not? It's all good. What else? Is there anything in the that I want to add here? No burning hands. There's no charm person. Do you notice that there's nothing that, and there's no spell around charm person. And I think maybe charm person should be there. So let's add charm person as well. I don't want to do chromatic orb. I don't want to do color spray. Comprehend languages. Detect magic. We've got it already. Disguise self, unnecessary, I think. Expeditious retreat, no, false. Grease, identify, illusionary script. I'm tempted to give them magic missile. But Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp, and Thunder Wave. Even Sleep would be, you know, that wouldn't be a bad idea either. Sleep. Just put them to sleep. No. Monsters using sleep is almost completely pointless because there's too many other characters to get them back up again. So it's kind of like it winds up being a complete silliness, doesn't it? It really does. Magic Missile. I would really like to put Magic Missile in there. It's force damage. Do you know what I mean? It's like pushing. But it's... No, well, Thunder Wave kind of does that, doesn't it? Magic Missile just means they don't have to roll dice. They're just going to roll damage. That's the only thing I'm thinking. It's like, doop, 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 Magic Missile. What do people think about Magic Missile? Let's have a look. Before I venture off into La La Land, what do you think about Magic Missile? Hashtag, do you think Magic Missile should be a djinn spell? Control weather. Yes, there is a spell like that. So we could do like no charm person. Djinns can't charm. No story in the djinn. Oh, I see. The ability to control others like this. On the contrary, they cannot force people to... Ah, that's right. You're correct. No Magic Missile. No. Yes. Okay. No, I accept that as a good point. They can't be charmed, but they can't actually charm or force them. Yeah, that's right. You're correct. Okay, so we'll leave Magic Missile alone. I'm all good with that. Basket source for casting without material components, but yes. Yeah, I think here. Okay, so let's see. What else are we doing here? I need to work my way through some of the other spells, and there was a couple that you had suggested that I actually think are probably good ideas for the once a day or 3 times a day thing, because we don't have an awful lot that they can do. So next, Counterspell. No, I don't know that I feel like Counterspell. I hate Counterspell as it is. If I could get rid of Counterspell from 5e, I would. It's just too good of a thing. Dispel Magic is... I don't know. Does Dispel Magic feel like a good idea? I feel like it could be. Gaseous Form. We have Gaseous Form already. Hypnotic Pattern. Lightning Bolt. Do I give them Lightning Bolt? I actually think that maybe Lightning Bolt's not a bad idea. Lightning Bolt. 3rd level spell. Yeah, not Fireball, but I think Lightning Bolt's going in. I think Lightning Bolt should be there. Okay, Lightning Bolt. We'll highlight it, but I still feel like that's actually a pretty good idea to include for them. Magic Circle, no. Oh, Major Image. We've got Major Image already, don't we? Major Image, we do. Next, Phantasmal, no. Remove Curse, no. Stinking Canal, Sleet Storm. Sleet Storm? I really think Sleet Storm's not a bad idea. Let's include Sleet Storm as well. Okay, next, going through here. Control water. Control water. We want control weather, don't we? Dimension door. No. No. Here we go. Hallucinatory terrain. And I feel like hallucinatory terrain is actually a really good idea. Sleet storm and ice storm. You know, I think we get rid of sleet storm and we replace it with ice storm. Ice storm would be better. And then hallucinatory terrain. Hell. Loosen terrain. Yes. Yeah, I like that one. Next. No. Polymorph. Oh, I don't know. Cloud kill. Conjure elemental. We don't have it can conjure an elemental, do we? And he was more talking about contact other plane. Guys, hold. Yes. Let's put down conjure elemental as well. Conjure. Con. L E L. Oh God. Conjure. Elemental. Got it. No, I didn't. Got it now. Conjure elemental. We'll give them a few of those. We've got chain lightning as something else. It's a part of a legendary action. It's not necessarily a spell as such. Create undead. No, none of those. Magic jar. Sunbeam. True seeing. Force cage. I don't want to go too high. Well, we got spells that go as high as that, don't we? And then control weather. Is control weather a druid spell? I think it is, isn't it? Control weather. Control. It is. I'm sure it is a spell. I'm sure we use it a lot in my current campaign. Call it conjure elemental. And then control. Control water. Control weather. It's an 8th level spell, so we should probably only have one of those. If we're going to give them that, but I like it. Let's do that. Why not? Let's give them one of those as well. Okay. All right. I think that's it. I think that's all that needs to be there. We've got some tools that they can use, so they're not just getting beaten up, because that right now the Jinn feels like it's just a big huge target for the players with hardly anything that it can do other than swing a blooming sword with heat instead. So let's see. Not a big fan of Jinn having direct damage spells. I know you're not, but there's no point having a fight with one if they don't have them. Do you know what I mean? So that's all I was thinking. I think lightning should be there. I think we give them some lightning stuff. You reckon lightning bolt once per day? No, I'm going to give them 3 times a day. Sleet storm implied control over water. Nope. I think ice storm is probably better. Sleet storm works. Air is water. And we have a little battle between John and Jasper in terms of what they think. It's just warm water, steam. Yeah. Elemental plane of air. Oh, gust of wind. If it's not ice. Gust of wind, though, is a thing, isn't it? Gust of wind is something else. And there's air. Dungeons are earth. Fits better with water. Sandstorms, dust, earth. I'm sure Gust of Wind is a spell, and that would probably make sense. Well, I mean, it's true. Not every single stat block needs to be a fight. I agree with that. I tend to agree with that. So not every stat block needs to be built around that, for sure. But the other thing you got to remember is I'm building this because a certain patron has a certain way that they want to do things, and so I'm actually not. I'm not hugely tied to, like, I'm partly tied to what AD&D did, but not completely. Do you know what I mean? Gust of Wind. It's a second level spell. Let's give them Gust of Wind at least 3 times a day. Actually, Gust of Wind could be more often. We could make that an at will. Thunder Wave, Gust of Wind. It's really wind. It's not really an attack spell as such. 3 times Gust of Wind, Conjure Elemental. Gust. G. Gust. No. Gust. I'm going to make that at will for Gust of Wind. Shock and Grasp, Thunder, Ray of Frost. I'll think more about it. I'm sure I might feel differently about it later on, but Air Elemental only, Conjure Elemental, Air Elemental only. We've already got Conjure Elemental. What am I doing here? We don't. It's once a day. Okay, right. They've already built that in. Creation, gaseous form, invisibility, major. Okay. Control weather. Control weather. Cut. Paste. Control weather. Okay. All right. I think that's the lot. I think that's everything. Blah 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 blah. Okay. I need to have a good look at the lore behind the original Jinn rather than the D&D Jinn as well. That'll probably be my deciding factor for me in terms of how I do anything. But yeah, so let's. Do I have time to go over this? I probably don't, but I probably should. I should probably go over it, shouldn't I? Okay. All right. Let's go over it. Let's see if I can do this in a swift manner. Okay. 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 So, all right. So the Jinn stat block for Dungeons and Dragons 5e. This is what I've done in terms of the changes. I've left the armor class the same. I've put in the maximum hit points. I would recommend using 224 rather than 161. That'll at least give you, I think, 1.5 to 2 rounds when you're dealing with characters that are level 11, and it's a challenge rating 11 monster. All the stats for it I haven't really changed. I did add in a saving throw for con at plus 10. I've included skills. I've given it Arcana, History, Nature, and Religion at plus 6. I do believe I've added in damage immunities for Cold and Radiant. It had only Lightning and Thunder, I think, before. I haven't changed the condition immunities. Instead of Dark Vision, it's now got Blind Sight at 120 feet. I've given it Telepathy of 120 feet, not just one language. I've also given it Legendary Resistance once per round, and Magic Resistance, so it has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. I've adjusted the spellcasting DC to an 18 rather than a 17, just to make it a little bit better. To hit is exactly the same. The at-will abilities, it's now got, obviously still got Detect Evil and Good. It's got Detect Magic, of course. I've given it Gust of Wind, Prestidigitation, Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp, and it had Thunder Wave before anyway. The the things you can do 3 times a day each. Create food and water was already there, and then obviously you have the chance to do wine as well. Hallucinatory terrain is included. I've given it lightning bolt, the ice storm, had tongues before, it had wind walk, but now it has wind wall. Once per day, it's got the conjure elemental, air elemental only. That's no change. Control weather I've included. Creation was already there. Gaseous form was already there. Invisibility was still there. Major image was already there, and plane shift was already there, I'm pretty sure. I've adjusted the multi-attack. So the scimitar multi-attack, it's still a +9 to hit. It could be as high as a +10 really. Instead of 4d6 plus 5 slashing damage, it's now 2d6. It's doubled. It's a 4d6. So instead of 2d6, I've pushed the number up. So it's doing a bit more damage to be in line with the monster. And its lightning or thunder damage is doubled as well. Create Whirlwind is now on a recharge of 4, 5, or 6. I've made it a 10-foot radius rather than a 5-foot radius. The cylinder height is still the same, and the range is still the same. But the difference is that the DC still is an 18 strength saving throw, but on a failure, you're going to take 15 points average bludgeoning damage, which is 3d8 plus 2. And be flung 20 feet, and you're going to wind up prone. Okay, if you succeed on the save, you take half damage, don't get flung, and don't wind up prone. I've given it legendary actions so that it can take a legendary action at the end of every player's turn, and I've included all the standard actions as options: dash, dodge, grapple, help, search, shove, use an object. I've given it its basic attack with the scimitar as an option for legendary actions, and it can cast a spell. And I haven't limited what level the spell can be, okay? It also has the option to use Chain Lightning once per round as a legendary action, and it's literally worded exactly the same as the Chain Lightning spell. So it hasn't got a lot else going on with it. And that's the extent. I think that should work reasonably well with a Jinn. I'm just going to go and check the lore rather than just the Dungeons & Dragons older versions of the Jinn. I'm going to check the lore and see if the lightning aspect is still sort of sitting in with it or not. And if it's not, then maybe I'll adjust it. But I'll put this all up onto Patreon probably at the end of the week. Wow. That's me. I'm done. I'm finished. I've got to get out of here. I've got to go to work. And I'll be back tomorrow. I think I'm trying to do a Revenant, playable Revenant, which I don't recommend using unless you have a very specific reason for using it. That would be my suggestion to you, is be very careful if you use a playable Revenant. It should not be a players get to choose to use it whenever they like. It's a very, very silly idea to do. So El Gendero, I've butchered your name. I'm sorry, mate. El Gendero. Anyway, I'm not going to have a chance to look through all of the chat right now. I better get moving. I'm supposed to be on my way, trekking off to work. So, huge thank you to all of my patrons who support me on Patreon. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who took part in the poll today. Thank you to everybody who's been in the chat, watching and listening. If you've been commenting and giving feedback, I really do appreciate it. It does help me move things along. Otherwise, I get stuck sometimes. And you had a lot of really good suggestions. I won't call out all of you because I should be going. But you know who you are. I've been talking to you the whole time here. So look, wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.